In August 2024, the 15-year rule of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina collapsed in a matter of days. Tens of thousands of students marched through the streets of Dhaka, overwhelming security forces and ultimately forcing her to resign and flee the country. To international observers, her sudden exit was jarring. For over a decade, she had maintained an iron grip on the nation's political system, projecting an image of total, unshakable control. However, this collapse was the latest turn of a wheel that has been spinning in Bengal for centuries. Historically, this region generates incredible wealth. That wealth attracts conquerors, and eventually the local population rises up in mass mobilization to throw them out. This engine of oppression and rebellion is the defining feature of the country's history. We see the exact same mechanics, first against British colonial exploitation, then Pakistani military rule, and modern domestic strongmen. To understand the political reality of modern Bangladesh, you have to look past the ballot box. Here, the people repeatedly enforce their social contract in the streets. For centuries, the Bengal Delta was one of the wealthiest regions on Earth. During the Bengal Sultanate and Mughal eras, the area was a global commercial hub, dominating international trade with highly sought-after goods like silk, rice, and a famously fine woven cotton called muslin. That legendary prosperity drew the attention of the British East India Company. In 1757, they took military control. Over the next century, British policies systematically extracted Bengal's resources, shifting the region from a wealthy exporter to an impoverished, deindustrialized colony. The local population met this extraction with force. Agrarian rebellions erupted across the countryside. Movements like the Faraizi Campaign, a conservative rural reform movement, mobilized peasants, while indigo farmers launched fierce, violent uprisings against colonial landlords who forced them to grow cash crops instead of food. British exploitation established a mechanical pattern for the region's future. When an authoritarian power drains the land's wealth, the populace mobilizes to break the system. The 1947 map shows East Bengal absorbed into Pakistan, a fractured nation separated by 1,000 miles of India. This divide was cultural too. When West Pakistan enforced Urdu as the national language in 1952, Dhaka students violently protested to protect their native Bengali. Those cultural tensions reached a breaking point in 1970. A Bengali leader, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, won a decisive victory in a national general election. Instead of transferring power, the West Pakistani government launched a brutal, sweeping military crackdown against the unarmed Bengali population. The crackdown triggered the 1971 Liberation War. What followed was a starkly asymmetrical conflict. A massive civilian resistance mobilized, fighting with whatever weapons they could gather against the heavily armed and professionally trained Pakistani military. After 9 months of grueling warfare and staggering loss of life, the civilian forces, aided by neighboring India, forced the Pakistani army to surrender. The independent People's Republic of Bangladesh was born. The Bengali population endured a genocide and dismantled a well-equipped national military to secure their cultural identity and democratic self-determination. This war proved the ultimate power of their mass mobilization. Yet independence did not yield immediate stability. The new nation rapidly fell into a chaotic period marked by political assassinations, internal power struggles, and military coups. Foreign empires were replaced by domestic military strongmen. Leaders like Zia Rahman and later Hussein Mohammad Ershad imposed strict martial law, suppressed political opposition, and governed through military authority throughout the 1970s and 1980s. But the historical pattern held firm. In 1990, an alliance of rival opposition parties organized massive civilian strikes. They completely paralyzed the country's infrastructure, forcing the dictator Ershad to step down. The citizens of Bangladesh proved they would not give domestic leaders a free pass. They held their own politicians to the exact same strict standards of accountability as they did foreign empires. Following the return to democracy, Bangladeshi politics became dominated by a bitter rivalry between two female leaders, Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina. Their alternating grip on power became known as the Battle of the Begums. During this period, the country experienced rapid economic expansion. Bangladesh emerged as a global powerhouse in garment manufacturing. building an industry vital to the international supply chain that quickly grew the domestic economy. Beneath that economic progress, the political system was calcifying. Securing a continuous 15-year rule, Sheikh Hasina systematically consolidated her authority. Her government eroded democratic norms, cracked down heavily on dissent, and held rigged elections. The nation had become an economic success story on paper, but a political pressure cooker in reality. The conditions were perfectly set for the historical cycle to trigger once again. In the summer of 2024, a student protest over a government job quota system rapidly expanded. It escalated into the July uprising, a nationwide mobilization against authoritarian rule that forced Hasina to abandon her office and flee across the border. In the immediate aftermath, the military explicitly refused to open fire on the crowds. The students then tapped Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus to step in and lead a civilian interim government. This recent revolution operated as the direct spiritual successor to the historical blueprints laid down in 1952, 1971, and 1990. In Bangladesh, democracy operates beyond the ballot box. It is a living, breathing contract enforced in the streets. And any ruler who forgets that history will eventually be forced to repeat it.